Welcome, everybody. This is the Beer Guys Radio Show. We're getting our first beer open.
Yes, we are.
We have a Cosmic Cabbage, I think.
Yes, Cosmic Cabbage from Monday Night
From Monday Night Brewing, Atlanta, Georgia, one of our homies of the local beer scene here. And we've got some other good stuff we'll tell you about later. I'm excited about a couple of beers on the list. This is a double IPA, but the real treat today is that we have Andrew Lighthammer here from Good Measure Pub and Brewery with us.
That's right.
In Vermont. So how you doing, sir?
I'm good. We had a long production day today. A lot of projects in the works kind of finishing up today. And then we're brewing our giant once a year barley wine tomorrow. So early start tomorrow as well.
Barley wine is life. Is it in English or American?
English. Always English.
Thank you. That's
American is just a triple IPA, right? It's the same thing.
That's it, man. I am all.
It's like a triple black IPA or a Cascadian dark triple or something like that.
Cascadian dark milkshake.
Yeah, there you go.
Milkshake.
You know what? I might like it a little bit more if it were a milkshake. I would need to take some pills, but yeah,
yes,
I might like it more.
Yes, give you all the lactose. Well, good deal. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us. See if you have any questions or comments for us or Andrew, drop them in the chat. We're going to fight as soon as we get these beers poured around here. We're making the rounds, getting the glasses full. Then we're going to kick off a little radio talk.
All right.
Right, Nate?
I'm ready.
Right. Nate, we're ready for this. Let's do it.
Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys Radio Show.
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
Dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yo, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Brian Hewitt.
Welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We're broadcasting from the Beer Guys Radio Studios in Marietta, Georgia. This week, we're talking with Good Measure Pub and Brewery. I'm Tim Dennis, and with me, as always, is my good friend and co-host, Brian Hewitt.
Hey, Tim. Joining us today, we have Andrew Lighthammer, the owner and head brewer for Good Measure Pub and Brewery. We're going to talk about new beers, cream ales, table beers, and maybe we'll touch on things like lemon pepper wings and tomato grisettes. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
I see you deep dived and found that I did a tomato beer.
Well,
no.
If you've done something
getting into, Andrew,
weird in brewing that you're embarrassed of or proud of, either way, I'm going to find it.
I wouldn't consider anything. I'm not unproud of anything, but I have done a lot of weird beers. Our setting kind of allowed for us to do a lot of weird stuff in the past. So yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Does it not allow for you to do weird stuff currently?
I can do single kegs of some kind of out there stuff, but we're just crushing beers with our new restaurant that we opened. That we're really focusing on the core beers and making solid drinking beer and not stuff that has Sour Patch Kids and tomatoes in it.
Together, both of those?
No, never. That's too much.
Smoked?
No.
Smoked Sour Patch Kids. Delicious.
Do a beer called, there probably has been a beer called the Kitchen Sink. I bet someone's done.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah,
probably.
I'm sure there's a bunch of them out there.
I think Monday night, speaking of Monday night, one of our beers, we're drinking Cosmic Cabbage right now, double IPA.
Yes.
Hazy double IPA from them. And they did a stout called 7 Deadly Stouts.
Yes.
7 different barrels, Andrew.
Oh, that's crazy.
From. And when I heard it was coming out, when you hear 7 different barrels, you're like, this has just got to be a train wreck.
Yeah.
There's no way, but because I trust my fellas at Monday night, I'm like, if anybody can pull it off, it's these guys.
Yeah.
And probably my beer of the year for last year. Or was it the year before? Was that 21?
Was it 21? I don't know.
22?
Not 22.
2020, Nate?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I've tried to forget 2020.
The last 2 years have been a blur.
Right. Yes. They all run together. But anyhow,
that's the best beer they've ever made, honestly.
Yeah, it was stellar.
Yeah.
And I have it. I have word. Get another.
It was a hit. I was smart and got several of them. I think everybody who did not regretted it. It looked like a gimmick. I mean, seriously, 7 barrels.
It did.
And some of the barrels are like, is that even a real barrel? That just sounds like magic.
Banana cognac.
Yeah, exactly.
They're ever popular.
I don't care what they did. It was awesome.
Maybe they got a peanut butter or coffee barrel. this time, Brian.
Yeah, peanut butter coffee barrel.
That's Brian's favorite. Coffee. Andrew, you know a thing or two about coffee, right?
Yeah, so we have a sister company called Carrier Roasting, small batch coffee roaster. We actually started in the same building together. We share a wall. So if you actually go to our website, you can see the front of the building. We had a sign painter come up from Boston. So it literally says in huge letters, coffee on one side, beer on the other. And then we just opened the restaurant, and so that that says food. Yeah, just we're big coffee nerds. I've done a ton of coffee beer. It's great having those guys right there next to us.
I can tell you, if I drove by and I saw coffee, beer, food, I'm like, I really don't need to go anywhere else.
That covers all of the bases.
This
like
has got it covered.
If does it say sleep in there anywhere? Because I
No,
might need that
no.
after the fact. But
No.
yeah,
Yeah,
The
that'll be the
coffee
next project.
keeps you from that.
that's right. You know what? The coffee, you won't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm
Good
gonna
point.
ask a question I assume I know the answer to, but has the coffee gone into your beers?
Oh yeah, we've done a lot of projects. The fact that they're there allows me to kind of experiment with even like different types of additions. We've played around with Cascara a lot, which is the coffee cherry.
That's right. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We've done a lot of kind of crazy coffee stuff. So
Have you had the coffee cherry like a tea?
Yeah.
It's not bad.
So we were actually experimenting early on with that, with extractions on the coffee cherry, because it has some sugar to it, and thinking about making an actual like alcoholic beverage out of just Cascara. And there's no FDA or any regulations because nobody knows what it is.
How much sugar do you get? Can you mash it out with something fermentable?
If you did it's like a 6-to-1 ratio of Cascara to water, and you could extract something that would make like a 4% dry, like little wine thing. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
That may get us back to homebrewing, Brian.
Yeah, that sounds like a cool idea.
We'll talk to our buddy Adam at the Nest and see if he can get us
some coffee cherries, some Cascara.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Do they taste like coffee?
No, they taste like cherry tobacco almost. Like kind of like woody and very cherry forward.
Now, see, that would be good in my opinion in a barley wine.
Right.
Like I've had barley wines that you get like those pipe tobacco notes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is stellar. I'm all about this.
A Cascara barley wine. Yeah. That sounds.
There we
that
go.
would be awesome.
You can still that, Andrew. No charge, man.
Thanks.
It's there for you. It's there. For
that
you.
questionable idea is free of charge.
Yeah. Brian, you know what? I teased a little bit peanut butter. You got there's craft peanut butter that you have dubbed pastry peanut butter.
Yes,
here, right? What in the world have you got here?
I as a big coffee nerd, I follow Counterculture. I buy their coffee. There's a few that I really like, Bazurga Hindwa or whatever. However you say that. It's a great coffee. Enjoy making it. And they partnered up with a New Zealand company called Fix and Fog on a peanut butter that's with coffee and maple in it, and it's really good.
It's pretty crazy. Have you done any peanut butter beers, Andrew?
Yeah. So we do a series. So it started kind of as a joke. Name wise, and so the first beer we released we called Business Attire, and then of course you have to keep playing with that name, so we did the session version, which was Business Casual, and then we did the Imperial version, which was, I believe it was Business Meeting or something like that. But yeah, we use dehydrated peanut butter powder, we use actual whole peanuts, as well as a bit of cocoa nibs, and then we use a candy making peanut butter extract in bottling, or in canning, I should say. Yeah, they go over really well, but
sounds quite nutty.
It does. Yeah. We dig them. That's peanut butter stouts are actually, we dabble in non-alcoholic beers out of curiosity to see what's available out there, and it's the Bravus.
Bravus does
peanut butter dark. I think they call it. That is actually, it's the one, Andrew, that for me is the closest that I've ever had where I wouldn't be able to tell it from an alcoholic beer.
Right.
Like if it was, because I love Athletic Brewing. They have some really nice stuff, but if you blind taste me regular beers across same styles, I will be able to pick out the Athletic Brew. With this one across similar like low ABV stouts and that, I'm not sure that I would pick that one out as not out.
To be for athletes, so it's lower calorie stuff. I mean, there's nothing for you've taken the alcohol out that takes body out. There's nothing to replace it with without adding calories. Bravas is like, we don't care about calories.
Yeah,
we're going to give you all the flavor and all the body, so you don't even notice the alcohol is gone. I guess it's like up to like 0.5% of alcohol or something like that is technically what non-alcoholic is, but not enough
5 ABV and still 400 calories in a 12-ounce serving. So
exactly
those,
right. So it's not enough that you would notice it, but still, it's awesome. But you know what? We should get into the beers of the week.
Beers of the week, always a good time talking about. Brian, you brought some treats.
I did
this week. I'm excited about, and we do want to thank our friends at the Nest for sponsoring this segment. Every week, craft beer barbecue, downtown Kennesaw, Georgia. Go by and check them out. As we mentioned, they're involved with coffee as well, and they keep a nitro tap on there.
Indeed.
So if you're one, and they also make cocktails that involve their coffee there. So craft beer, barbecue, coffee, cocktails. They should put that on the building, Andrew. Just beer, barbecue, coffee.
I know a sign guy.
Sleep. No sleep. I know a sign guy. Give me a call if you need a sign guy.
Does he travel?
Right. But here this week, we are going to drink. I'm going to save the best for last, or I hope it's going to be the best. But right now, we are into Monday night's Cosmic Cabbage, fantastic double IPA. Last week, Brian, we drank Freigeist Abraxas.
Yes.
I love
this
that beer.
week. Brian had to grab it. It was, Andrew, I'll be honest. Not my cup of tea, man.
Yeah.
Not my cup of tea. But
they're a weird brewery.
We have Perennials Abraxas.
Yeah.
So we figured we'd go that way with it. We also have a little McKellar Beer Geek breakfast. And the one I'm looking forward to seeing how it's doing from Hair of the Dog, RIP. We have a 2007 Adam batch number 71. So a 15-year-old Hair of the Dog Adam that we're going to crack into a little later. So it's going to be good stuff. Nate, are we out of time? Nate is staring at me, which means we're going to take a break, and we will be right back with Beer Guys Radio.
So I'm going to point out for everybody listening in the stream, I didn't personally age this Hair of the Dog. I bought this direct from them.
They were letting go of some of their stuff, right?
And I could not pass it up. Jason Pellet, Orpheus, mentioned that he was there and he loved that he could buy stuff out. And I commented on Twitter, somebody said, you should check. They still have a lot of stuff there. I'm like, all right, we'll see. And they did on their website. And I was like, well, maybe they'll ship, but maybe not. I don't know. And they did.
So what you're telling me is you've got more
of these
to share
of this one. Sure. And I've got some doggy claws. I've got some, I think
what was the
Fred or Adam
from the Wood?
I've got some
like
from
that?
the Woods. And I've got a variety.
Were any of the bottles you bought more than 3 digits in the price you paid for them?
Oh no, individually not. I had the
because I know they get some that's crazy there. So.
Yeah, and for them being as old as they were, I'm surprised it wasn't a little bit more expensive. It was not cheap though, Tim.
Yeah, I imagine
it was not cheap at all. But
Andrew, we were talking last week that we need to work out the technology to be able to like pass food and beer across the internet there. So
yeah,
when we bust out this vintage Hair of the Dog,
I know
we can share it. What are you sipping on tonight?
I got 2 of our new ones that we just packaged. So I just finished our can. This is the one that we just released called Vista. So Vista is actually the name of it's a new hop that they're pushing really hard. It's bred to taste like cantaloupe.
Okay.
All right.
It's kind of wild.
I was to go with your cheese.
That's what's the name of that? Aesop? No.
But fairly recently, we had a new cheese shop open in Atlanta. And we're cheese junkies. So Brian found one that it's got a big cantaloupe note to it, to the cheese itself. So
yeah,
it's unexpected. I like it. I think Tim is not as big a fan as I am, but I think it's a cool flavor.
Beer Geek now. It sounded like
probably Beer Geek. I think.
And Andrew, you said you had another one there too, Vista, and what was your other?
Yeah, so then I got a can of our I'm trying to aim it. This is
where the camera is there.
Yeah, this is our single or our fresh hop beer that we do every year. So
nice.
Is that the Kolsch?
No, this is just our IPA. So
okay.
The crazy part about the fresh hop beers is we don't buy actual fresh hops. We literally have 4 people that drive binds to us within 10 miles, and we literally hand pick them.
That's dope. That is
So
pretty darn cool.
we ended up with about 45 pounds of fresh hops this year. So I made the IPA like we always do, and then made the Kolsch as well.
Wait, did you say they drive the binds to you and you
Yeah,
pick them?
trash bags, and we sit outside and literally hand pick.
That's something, man.
Just chop them down. Here you go.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Was it Philly or Pittsburgh, I think, where the city, Cleveland, somewhere up there, they chopped down their hops? Did you see that news
Where
story?
was that? Was that Cleveland?
So there was a brewery that was growing hops, and apparently it's an annual thing they do. They do, fresh hop beer, and some city crews were doing cleanup in the neighborhood and thought it was just overgrowth and gutted it. I mean, they gutted it. So
yeah, completely. And they fined them too. On top of it, they fined them for having like a disorderly yard or whatever, even though they had approval for it and actually had like fencing around it and signage saying what it was.
Yeah,
they just went in and just shredded it and fined them for it.
I think the city went back on the fine.
The city went back on the fine, which I think they thought they were being gracious. I'm like, no, I mean, you did a lot of damage. The beer that they were going to make a beer with that they make every year. It's some special charity thing. Yeah. And that was their hops for it. Right. Those were them. And so they're out. They can't make the beer. I think that they might've been getting donations of hops, and
I figured that would
people were going to come together and make it happen still. But man, that's
the brewing community. Yeah. Yeah. Andrew, I forget, what city is your brewery in?
We're in Northfield.
Northfield. All right.
So we're direct center, literally direct center of the state. We're 10 miles south of Montpelier.
Okay, gotcha. And how far is that from Burlington? I don't know my Vermont.
We're about 50 minutes.
Okay, all right. Yeah. I mean, Vermont's not a massive state, so
no.
Not like Texas.
No.
How long?
I'm good, man.
How long does it take to drive from like the northernmost to the southernmost tip to the opposite tip?
I mean, probably like 3 hours.
Okay. Yeah.
3.5, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Texas, it's like a week.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
East to west.
So I remember from driving from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, which is sort of like from one end of Washington to the other. Yeah. That was about 3 hours. And I imagine that similar height in the state, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
I forget until I have it. That always has a little it's drier. It's a drier beer.
I haven't had or seen this in ages. I think
I forgot about that beer.
Back.
The Beer Geek Breakfast?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I think it might just be coming back to our state after Shelton. They were of Shelton, right?
I think so. Do you? Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so. So I guess the logistics for that worked out. Somebody picked them up and brought them back in.
Because I think Prairie came through Shelton too, didn't they? And I've just seen them talked about it recently.
Are they back? Because I think they may have
maybe I just heard
voluntarily withdraw. Oh, they broke up with Shelton before Shelton even went down.
They?
Yeah, they got something happened between the two. They had Shelton's name on their bottles. Like, thank you, our partners at Shelton.
Yeah,
Shelton.
I think Shelton gave them money to start like the first couple of years, or at least like bought all of their beer the first year.
I got you. All right.
Okay. Now I get that then.
I'm still that. You know what? There's certain things that I hear in the beer industry that don't surprise me. Stone, their recent debacle didn't surprise me. That I saw that, with everything coming, or I suspected. I'm not going to say I know the market, but there was a lot of signs they were struggling there.
Yeah.
The Shelton thing got me. I didn't see that one coming at all. I thought they were kind of a powerhouse.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected that. They have a lot of big names that they put around, and they've got the festival that everybody loves.
I mean, they brought Lambic and Goose to the U.S. That they were kind of.
But it's like that guy that we had on that wrote that book. Talking about how so many breweries aren't profitable.
The guy that wrote the book. Oh, Kelly Meyer. How not to start a damn brewery.
Yeah. Do you know Kelly Meyer or know of him?
I don't know.
He wrote How Not to Start a Damn Brewery. And apparently when he first sold his brewery and got out of the business, he was pretty bitter. And it came across a lot in his podcast and in his writings. And he was on our show a few months ago, I guess. And he told us then, he's like, I I've chilled a little bit since then. He's like, so his thing is he kind of looks at the darker side, people that have failed and, what happened, kind of
he's a
a
triage.
triage.
He triages failed businesses, like breweries especially, but I think he talks to distributors too that have failed, and like any business that's not worked out, he's about that. It's kind of an interesting thing, and I guess he has a fair amount of people to talk to, but just not everybody was willing to talk about it.
Right. And
I
guess you just don't. For a lot of people, they take it personal. And it's not a wound they want to bring open. I just today had a friend text me that started a brewery, and passionate guy, good brewer, and all that, but he's like, basically saying the industry is frustrating. That he's like, this is frustrating. He's like, especially when he sees a brewery with lackluster beer, but a huge marketing budget killing it. And you're a 5-barrel brew house trying to make it and just busting your tail to make good beer. I could see that. I mean, I've been in similar situations. There's companies that have the marketing budgets, they're able to get it out there and they do well. But I think that if you make stellar beer, may take a little longer than the guys with the big budgets, but the word's still going to get around, man. People will still find out about you.
I think the beer quality thing is always going to be, they're going to put their beer out there and it's going to sell immediately, but it'll catch up with them.
Yeah.
And then eventually people are going to be like, why are you buying that beer? It's terrible. Or the cans explode, or, there's issues. So I think, it should always be quality over anything else,
No doubt. Absolutely, man. And
if I talk to a brewery and they tell me that they've never dumped a batch of beer, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I that's a brewery that I know I don't trust the beer.
Yeah.
Because if you've never dumped one, that means it went on tap. And that means there could be crap on tap right now.
Yeah. It's not, I know that I always loved brewing and haven't homebrewed in a while, but I liked that it was part science, part art, and part, I always said voodoo, just that kind of unknown to it there. And we did a couple of our famous stories. We got a 5-gallon barrel, a smaller barrel. And we got all of our homebrew club friends together and brewed stout to put in this 15-gallon.
I think it was 15.
But anyhow, we put in this barrel. We're all excited. And like 30 days in, there's no barrel taste. I'm like, oh, okay, leave it. 2 months in, nothing. 3 months in, nothing. 4 months in, it tasted like diesel fuel. And I'm like, I don't know what happened between the 3rd and 4th month, but it sure did not produce the results we wanted.
Yeah, that was a big disappointment.
Yeah, sad though.
Whatever happened to that barrel? Do you still have it?
It's still in my garage. Yeah, I think the beer may still be in it.
Oh no,
because I would have had to I'm like, well, all right, I'm not drinking this. So
try.
Want to see how it tastes now after 4 years?
I was gonna say maybe try it, but maybe not. I don't know. How high? Do you remember how high the ABV was on the beer we put in there?
We were like a 10.
Is it 8 to 10?
9 to 10, somewhere in there.
If it's not, I guess what
open the bung and I see one of those little ghost fly out of there.
Yeah, or
it hisses at me.
If you actually see a forest floor on top of the beer, then maybe don't try it. But yeah, we had a nail in that. You could probably extract something from underneath, and
sour stouts are the new thing, right?
That's it.
Are they? Are sour stouts the new thing? No, okay.
No.
I was gonna say I hadn't heard that, but I'm waiting for anything.
I know of at least 2 cases where breweries had a stout go wrong, so that year they had a sour stout release.
Yeah,
I know that's happened a couple times, and
I think we had one that was very popular. That from a brewery not far from here.
Yeah, and you know what? I remember in one case it turned out I'm like, this is actually pretty good. Okay, the other one you're like, no, you guys just had something go funky, and
it just went off, and
didn't want to dump it.
Understood. Yeah, I could. It's. Especially if it spent time in a barrel, all that time, all the time cost, all the ingredient cost, all the everything, and then at the end say of it, just to have something is just garbage. You got to throw out.
Yeah,
that's terrible.
It happens, man. It happens.
We've dumped a lot of barrels. You can't avoid it at some point. You can always blend stuff back, but you get to that point where you're like, all right, I'm blending 5 gallons out of this 60-gallon barrel.
Yeah.
just to make it palatable. Like it's going down the drain.
Not going to work.
Yeah, at a certain point, that's there's really no point to it. Yeah.
And breweries do it because they think they're saving money, but putting a terrible beer out there is going to cost you so much more.
You're going to get a bad reputation.
Yeah.
And immediately it's like throwing ice on the consumer. I get skunked with with a horrible beer from a brewery. I'm just surprised by.
Yeah.
Especially paid good money for and I was excited about, and it turns out just awful.
Done.
Man, I am so unlikely to ever buy another beer from them for like a long time.
Yeah.
You know, even if it was just that one bottle. I mean, it's,
and if I'm being fully honest, Brian, it doesn't even have to be terrible. There's so much good beer out there now that if I get one that's just okay, they're not hot. Like if some friends are like, hey, you want to go to so-and-so? I'm like, oh, all right. Yeah. Okay. But when I've got 10, 15 stellar breweries to choose from, I'm probably not going to choose the mediocre one or the okay.
True. Unless they're close by.
Yeah, exactly. In the right situation. Sure.
I was thinking you were going with a kind of like, we bottle this very special beer and you try it and I'm like, oh, this is okay.
Yeah.
It's like, this is $30 a bottle and it's okay. I'm like, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm a little disappointed by that. I mean, like it's not a bad beer, but still, it's supposed to be special. So
if you're making it $30 a bottle, I should be wowed. That's it. If you're a $30 bottle of beer, it should stand out, Nate.
Mm-hmm. 500 ml.
That's right. The 500 ml.
Well, I was thinking 750s. We're more likely to see that, but the 500s are creeping up there too.
They are. Yeah. All right. Shall we jump back in?
Probably.
Let's do it.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Next Friday is Hawaiian Shirt Day. So, if you want to, go ahead and wear a Hawaiian shirt and jeans.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Remember, all episodes are available on demand. So if you missed the broadcast, get the podcast. Beer Guys Radio is available on the Podcast Park and all popular and unpopular podcasting apps. Now let's get back to Good Measure Pub and Brewery.
Andrew, I'm going to jump directly into a topic that I love, is near and dear to my heart. And you, I believe, have a passion for table beers. Is that right?
Yeah. We when we opened our brewery, it'll be 6 years this December. Our first tasting list, our first tap list had 4 beers under 4% alcohol. And people came in and were like, what are you doing? We had a Berliner, we had a table saison, we had a small British bitter. We always try and have stuff in that range. I think that the kind of the IPA IBU creep of 8 years ago is now the alcohol creep, and everyone's trying to see what they can push. And we do that higher stuff, but I try to balance it with some lower stuff as well.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. We've talked about like the IBU wars. I actually think Mickler had the one they called 1,000 IBU.
Yeah,
I think they may have.
Right,
yeah.
The 1,000 IBU thing. But with table beers, I've had some that are stellar, and then I've had some that get to a point to where there's just nothing to them. Like they go too far with it. Have you found a magic? You mentioned lower than 4%. What's the lowest you've done and still been happy with the result?
We did a New England IPA that was 2.5% alcohol that we called Pace Car. That most of the staff drank it themselves because nobody wanted it. But we do a table saison, 4%. Everything is conditioned, so we do green bottles, traditional Belgian green bottles, and then we do draft as well, but the kegs are keg conditioned as well. And then we do a series of single hop. We don't like the word session IPA because for me and my business partner, we're always like, every beer is a session beer if you just want to drink a bunch of them.
If you do it right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So we call them table pale ales. So they're called Teeny, and so we've done Sabro single hopped, we've done Citra or Mosaic single hopped, and we're about to do Idaho Gem. So yeah, they're just, I don't know. There's something about going somewhere where you can have, 3-4 beers and walk out of there and not be destroyed.
We're going in a couple weeks. We will be at a beer festival called Le Bon, held by our friends at Good Word Brewing, and it's table beers, saisons, farmhouse ales, grisettes, oysters, and barbecue.
That sounds awesome.
We'll have to connect you for next year. See if you can talk to those guys.
Seriously.
And I've got to mention real quick them talking Good Word, because we talk about table beers, that Todd, when they were opening the restaurant, said that one of his ideas was to do a very low table beer that they put out for you, kind of like a bottle of water or the wine in an Italian restaurant, where each table had, some table beer there for you. And I'm like, I'm here for this. But
so as a term,
I was gonna say our buddies at Hill Farmstead up here. I mean, everyone knows Hill Farmstead, but
sure.
He's recently been releasing Charlie, which is his table saison. It's 1.7%, and he does bottles. But it's the whole point is that he's in the middle of nowhere, and he doesn't want people drinking a bunch of double IPAs and then figuring out how to get back to Burlington an hour and a half away. And so he allows you to have a bunch of the table saison. 1.7 is really low. I don't know how he does it, but yeah.
Have you had that one? I assume.
Yeah.
How is it? Is there a character to it?
Yeah.
In that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I've had Jester King's Le Petit Prince.
Yeah.
And I had that one time, and I'm like, I'm getting nothing here. But then I had it another time, and I'm like, this is really good.
I had the same experience with it. The first time I had it, and I think they were ahead of the curve on that. I was not ready for it, perhaps, or maybe it just wasn't good. But I got nothing. It was like, was it 3.2% maybe or something like that?
It's
low
down there. It's low, right? But I'm down. I'm too old now, Andrew, to chase ABV. I just want a beer that I enjoy. We've got breweries here now that are really good with the lagers. A lot of pilsners and stuff, lower ABVs. Like you said earlier, we use the same phrase, drinking beers.
Right.
Something that you can sit around and have a few.
So a question I have, and perhaps some of our listeners will also have, when I've heard table beers, I've always thought about like saisons, lower ABV, but I think from what I'm gathering from the way you guys are talking, table beer really could be anything on the lower side. I always got a farmhousey feel for it, but maybe
it does. I mean, it has that's kind of the original term, but I think like we've kind of embraced it as a like something that the original term, like you would sit around a table with a bunch of people having dinner and relaxing and chatting, and could have a bunch of them and you're fine. We all the time we have a 4.8% ESB on draft all the time. We've got our cream ale, which is 4.8%. We've got a saison that's 5. We've got a porter that's 6.4, a little up there, but we definitely play in that lower range.
So the one that's like a 4.8 and a 5, do you consider those table beers?
We don't openly call them table beers, but I think for me, the table beer is kind of that like 4% and under. We push it with that. We just call that like an extra special bitter and then a saison.
I know we had a guy on social media for a long time that would yell at anybody who called anything above 4% a session beer.
Oh yeah.
He was very angry about it.
Well, I hadn't really thought about it till our conversation right now, but I think table beers, I always kind of not intentionally, but thought of them playing in the threes.
Threes,
a 3-3, a 3-5, a 3-7,
and usually farmhousey, right? Like
yes,
almost always.
Exactly.
Like
if someone said table beer to me, I'm gonna
grisette,
what's
maybe?
hitting me is a grisette, saison, something like that. 3.3 to 3.6%. That's the mental image I get when someone says table beer. But I'm open, man. I'm flexible.
Oh yeah, I'm fine with the
seasonally. We put on a 3.7%. We call it an American Dry Stout. It's like our version of Guinness, but it's 3.7, and it flies. I mean, people love it. Maybe it's something about it being darker. They don't even look at ABV.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. Dark beer that's consumers, man. I don't want to say playing consumers. That sounds bad, but really the consumers playing themselves. It's oh, this beer is X. I don't want that. So but then they don't think about it because it's a stout.
Aside from like considerations about how am I getting home, like you looking at the looking at the ABV is irrelevant to me. Like if
Yeah.
I'm not driving, I don't care what it is. I'll look at what the beer is, the description, and like that sounds really good. I'll try that. And I've had stuff where I look later, I'm like, whoa, what? How big is this?
Yeah.
Oh, this is 12%. I had no idea. I didn't look at that before I ordered it. It just sounded good. So
well, I've had very high ABV beers that I think the alcohol and the booziness adds to the overall character and makes that beer enjoyable for what it is.
Yeah.
I've also had some where I think that booziness detracts from it, you know?
Yeah.
So it's not just because it's a high ABV beer, and it would really depend on the style. Maybe 8% is high for some, but I've had, again, Black Tuesday, which we missed, Brian.
Yeah.
We missed Black Tuesday.
Yeah.
But, you know, they've had that. I've had that one up to 19.2%.
Didn't we have a 20, a 20.2 or something like that?
that?
Yeah, I think so.
And we've mentioned the Avery beer several times that hit, you know, 17, 18% and stuff like that. That booziness is part of the beer and is phenomenal.
So you've mentioned an ESB at least a couple of times, and I've read about how popular it is. Do you have a cask system, a beer engine, anything like that for serving that?
We're about to install. So we have a beer engine that we bought that is from England that has a porcelain handle, like very old school. We're about to install it and run the lines. Right now it's on draft on both sides of our brewery, and we can it as well. That's actually what we canned this morning. But we mimicked it after like basically an export version of Coniston Bluebird Bitter. So it's all British ingredients, 2 malts, all Challenger hops. It's sessionable.
It's a British
sounds
session
great.
beer.
And I bring it up just because we've got a store here, a bar that has a cask bar in it, and I'm in love with the cask beers I have on there. The ones that are actually prepared for it, it's impressive.
We'll have to talk about that more. It's a good topic, Brian, that I've got more questions on. You're listening to the Beer Guys radio show. We do need to take a break, but we'll be right back. I've got questions, but I'm going to save them for the show so we don't use up content.
We've in the talking in between, we've gone through some of my material.
I know. I always have to be careful with that.
I'm like, so I might make you repeat a few things.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Your comment about the session ale, I had a story about this beer that I had seen. So I literally can't remember what brewery it was, but they were kind of trolling the whole session word. And so they released a double IPA and called it a double session ale. And I thought that was so amazing.
Yeah.
For a while, I was enjoying calling. I was calling any beer that I thought sounded great. Oh, that's very sessionable. I'd be talking about Imperial triple IPAs or like bourbon barrel stouts that are damn near 14%. Like, oh yeah, very sessionable. For a minute, that was a hot thing.
That's
like,
a crushable.
Everybody was
so crushable.
Yeah,
crushable
or
crushable. Yeah.
You don't hear that's not. I still hear people talking about crushable. I don't hear people mention sessionable at all anymore.
It's not as much, but I think session ales still to hear people.
Well, the trends. So the trends basically right now are going super low ABV, which it seemed like we had a trend previously where, again, the session beer thing was happening, but also at the same time, people are kind of, I don't know, bipolar. They're going super high ABV. So people are going between, I want my triple IPA and I want my big stout, but I'm going running this weekend, so I'll be drinking Athletic.
I think I fit that demographic now that you mentioned it, Brian, because if I'm sitting around having beers, like we talked about, I don't want a high ABV. Give me a Pilsner, give me something lower, a mild, something that I can sit around.
I do like something I drink in quantity.
But if I'm sitting around on a Saturday evening, I'm at home chilling, or sometimes I want the big beer. And I don't necessarily, again, this isn't necessarily a conscious thing. It's just what I gravitate to, Brian.
Yeah, I agree.
Andrew, what I think probably your brewing style tells us what your preferences are, right?
Well, to a point, yeah. I mean, I love drinking these like traditional beers, but we do, we play the game like everyone else does. So, like I said, we're brewing our barley wine tomorrow. We release a triple IPA once a year. We just emptied a bunch of oak that were all, the highest ABV was like 14.5%. Big imperial stouts that have been sitting in barrels for a couple years. So I think I do those ones more because it's like a challenge for me to brew them, and it's fun to brew them.
Okay. Yeah. Have you done a wheat wine ever?
We released a 16.2% wheat wine.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
An underappreciated, much loved style.
I want to go back in time and get one of those. That especially at that size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love a wheat wine. Harvest Dance.
Yeah.
That's where I fell in love with that. Boulevard's Harvest Dance. Did you ever
Yeah.
have that one?
I didn't. I remember Smutty Nose used to have one out of New Hampshire.
That was good too. Yeah. I forget what that one was called.
I can't remember anyone else that does it. You're right. Nobody does that. Founders had one, didn't they?
Do you say Founders?
I think Founders had one for a little bit.
Probably. I wouldn't
be
recall,
surprised. I'm trying to think. I want to say the brewery has one that they do, and I don't remember what it's called.
Oh yeah, but they add that's white chocolate. They add vanilla and a bunch of stuff to it. That's a wheat wine.
Oh yeah, okay, that's the one.
Which one is that?
The white chocolate.
White chocolate.
Brewery. I've got a bottle of that at home. Huh? Yeah.
All right.
It's just sitting there. It's kind of one that I've never had a reason to get into or had an opportunity to. Pilgrim's Dole. Who does that again?
New Holland.
New Holland.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they do one as well. And I looked for that a little bit, and I haven't found that. But I'm kind of, anytime I see something like that, I'm gonna pick it up. I am a fan of that.
Taste that.
Oh
Tell me what you think. No, I don't know that it's bad, just not what I expected.
Oh.
You familiar with the perennial Abraxas?
Yeah.
Andrew? Yeah. So that's not, it's got a note there that I would not say is unappealing, but was unexpected. Tell me the flavor descriptors you get when you take a sip.
All right, let's see what happens here. It's quite chilled, so
I came from I was a home brewer and came from a beer geek background before this, and I actually owned a beer bar for a while.
Okay.
So I'm still a beer geek. I bring my beer home, but I stop by the store and buy other people's stuff all the time.
See, I hear a lot of brewers that don't do that. That they're like, I
don't get it. Don't you want it's market research, you know?
Yeah, you got to. Were you thinking like cinnamon as a thing?
No, I expected that.
Hold on, I'm looking for something else here. There's like a sweet flavor in there too.
Yes, there is. That's the one that.
What is that? What is that? That's
Can you got any background music, Nate? What do we got there that we can put light back?
Is it like a berry? It's a berry or something like that. It's
sometimes I find that sometimes I find the chili pepper in beers that have chili pepper, and I know that will present itself weird. Like the vegetal
I get
will go
caramel
weird.
and berry together. It's like a weird caramel berry thing.
I've noticed peppers actually. Nope, I'm thinking the other way around. Coffee
turns into
I'll get green pepper.
Yeah.
From coffee. I got berry or cherry. Sweet, fruity berry or cherry.
Like a cordial. Like it's caramely, cordially kind of.
Like the cherry in the center of those cherry cordial candies. Yes. That's what I got, which I didn't expect in this.
I honestly haven't had a lot of these.
Is that Nate? This text is blurry, and I know you can read blurry text. Will you tell me what the descriptors are?
Tim is so vain he refuses to get glasses.
I'm not vain. I'm lazy. There's a difference.
His eyes are just shot. Oh, it contains lactose. Good.
Chili peppers, cocoa nibs, cinnamon and vanilla.
Cinnamon and vanilla.
See, that's what the fruit flavor, the fruit note was unexpected.
So it's coming from I don't know, like a mixture of
the bottle.
That's right. Well, I mean, it's the vanilla plus. Did this go in barrels? Did you say it went into barrels? I don't know.
And like I said, not unpleasant, unexpected.
Yeah, no, I like it.
Do you recall getting that note in Abraxas, Andrew?
I've only had Abraxas once, and I was probably way too many beers deep to remember what it was like.
Been there, man. Understood. Understood.
That's probably been my experience with most Abraxas I've had. Bottle shares, it comes out, but I've already had 18 other like samples, and I've effectively consumed like 3 or 4 14% beers at that point.
Which is actually what I was wondering when I tried that La Petite Prince the first time, is it was probably at a bottle share, and I'm wondering if I just got it late on the palate there.
That's definitely a beer that you can't be be waiting on. That's got to be early entry.
But give me one of those, like the last one I had that I really enjoyed. Give me one of those with maybe some cut fruits and some charcuterie and cheeses, and I'm good. I'd be happy.
11.5%. This is a fine table beer, Tim.
It is a fine table beer. Sessionable.
It doesn't say anything about lactose, but the lactose may add to that
sweet creaminess. Sweet,
that might explain some of it. It's not a barrel situation either. It does say 2020 on here. Okay.
All right. Cool.
I like it. I think I am on board with this Abraxas. I like this more than the previous Abraxas.
Fine. I definitely like it more than that last.
I think that last one actually spent a little too much time on the beer shop shelf.
In the toilet?
Well, the toilet. Tim, I bought it off a shelf.
So says Brian.
Off a shelf in a bathroom, but that is immaterial. That had nothing to do with it.
Toilet paper and pledge next to it.
That's right. So. Cleaning products and also Abraxas. No.
All right, let's get back into it. Let's do it.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. I want to give a quick shout out to one of our great radio affiliates, WZUS 100.9 FM in Decatur, Illinois. Catch Beer Guys Radio and WZUS every Saturday at 8 a.m. Wake up with us. Now let's get back to Good Measure Pub and Brewery.
You can have a cup of coffee.
That's right.
You get you a fresh roasted cup of coffee, turn on Beer Guys Radio. It's a great way to start your day.
A coffee beer.
Yes, we don't judge. And we won't be there. All. So even if we did judge, we won't.
We do judge. We just won't be there.
Send us pictures. We'll judge those.
We'll judge the pictures. Yeah.
Tag us on social. Beer Guys Radio,
Good
Instagram.
Stuff.
We want to see it there. So Andrew, tying into what we were talking about the last segment, we were starting to dive a little bit into cask ales. Mm-hmm. You mentioned your beer engine, porcelain handle, all the fancy stuff there. We have Brickstore Pub here that has a cask bar that always has a few on rotation. I recently saw on one of the beer forums, someone had created a map of all places, beer bars that focused on at least 3 cask ales across the U.S.
I need to look at this.
I'm seeing a lot more about cask ales. Mm-hmm. Is it, or are they the next big thing in America?
It's the next thing that's coming back for the third time. I would say.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
I feel like it was a really big thing in like early 2000s. It was kind of like people exploring it, and then people kind of destroyed the idea of it by being like, oh, it's a vessel I can throw a bunch of stuff in. I'm going to throw like marshmallow peeps in my IPA. And I think there's a lot of other breweries now that are like, I want to do traditional stuff and bring it back, but it's a ton of work. I mean, it's trying to manage a cask program on top of actually doing carbonation and putting out regular kegs it's a lot.
So and doing cask, you got to turn them over. You know, you don't have the sealed tank there with all of that and stuff. So you've got to make smaller batches, get them in the cask, know that you're going to be able to turn these over. And that would be tricky to manage with the American consumer, I think, right now, especially starting off until you kind of get
There's definitely some breweries I can think of East Coast that are doing it and doing it really well, but they created their breweries around that, and that's what people are going there to do or to drink. So for us, it's like, when we do it, it'll be more of a showcasing what that style of beer is like, or was like, I guess, and an education thing more than anything else.
it's a way of really highlighting some interesting flavor out of an existing beer. If you think you know this beer, try it on cask. It's a different animal on cask, and
completely
it
different.
might be even better that way. I found that it has been actually better in some cases.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
I forget the gentleman's name now, but we had a brew pub. I think it was like Falcon and Griffin or something like that was the name of it. Mark something or other, but apparently he did cask ales. You know, he did a lot of traditional English styles, and that was probably 15, 20 years ago. I'd have to do my Googling to see. But then I remember we had Yes Face for a while.
Oh,
that
that's
you would
right.
see.
Yeah.
Never had a physical location, Andrew, but every now and then you'd see a cask or a keg pop up from Yes Face Brewing. And I remember what are the hops that have dill, lemon and dill? Sriracha Ace.
Yeah.
And I remember he did a pale ale with Sriracha Ace at our buddy Richard that had the craft beer factory.
That's right.
Because we have a buddy that's British that owned a growler bar when those were cool here in Georgia, and he'd put a cask on. And you know,
that's
he
right.
liked
He
to have
always had a cask of something.
He always had a weekly cast that he would do, and he got that pale ale with the Sriracha Ace there, and it was stellar. You know, the hops were very bright. You know, there wasn't anything hiding it there. And
do you have bars down there now that do casks on a regular basis?
We have one bar, Brick Store Pub, which is one of we have.
It's
is
an
the
institution.
Porter open again?
I haven't seen anything yet.
We used to always say the Porter and Brick Store for beer bars in Atlanta. Porter was under new ownership, closed for renovations, should reopen again soon. So Brick Store Pub is really our place,
and
it's our world-class beer bar.
I think they've got a dedicated 3 or 4 on a special cask bar.
And they've done, I know they've had like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Celebration.
They'll do Celebration on cask. Of course, local breweries do things with them to keep some nice stuff on. But
see, I think that it would be so much easier if they went the pint of plain.
A pint of plain,
man. Get you a cask of foam and get you a cask of still beer, and then you mix the two together.
That was 50 years ago, Brian. Right. 50 years ago. But no,
and in Ireland too.
I'll admit, I'm not sold on the cask ales. I've tried some that I enjoyed. I've tried some I have enjoyed, but I know there are people that are passionate about them, and I haven't developed that level of passion.
Do you know the Nerex, or have you heard of Nerex? So it's like the New England Real Ale Festival.
Oh, okay. I have not.
No, I have not.
It's outside of Boston. It happens every year. I don't think it's happened the last couple because of COVID, but they literally take donations of casks for this festival for a year. And then they have so many casks available that they're stacked 3 high on shelves behind the servers. And there's like 75 beers on cask at once. And people swear by it. But you got to imagine what that crowd looks like. You know, it's a lot of old Brits that have moved over to England, and it's a lot of like older guys that are like, I only drink cask beer, you know?
Crotchety guys.
Yeah, exactly.
About carbonation.
Wait a second. I'm an old guy. I fit right in.
So, Andrew, along those lines, somewhat, I think we're a little different. We have ACAT, the Atlanta Cask Ale Tasting, which I believe it's going into its 16th year.
Yeah, I've lost track of the years.
But the kicker here is our friend Owen Ogletree hosted, and Owen hosts the Classic City Brew Fest in Athens, Georgia. That's in its 20-something year.
Yes, that's the one that's 20-something.
ACAT is 14, 15, somewhere in there.
Sounds about
right. And Owen also owns Brewtopia Events that does beer tours across the world, beer tourism.
Okay.
And Italy recently, I think I saw where he was. Greece,
probably.
Italy.
He's done South Africa. He's the UK all the time. Yeah.
But he's a real cask ale fan, and he hosts the Atlanta Cask Ale Tasting every year. I think it's coming up in February. But the kicker there is we get a lot of those stouts that have peeps and bananas and
we put Snickers in
stuff in there.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of those. It's not now he does. I believe he actually goes through a lot of work to get a true cask of like Old Speckled Hen.
Yep.
And Hobgoblin and stuff like that over here.
Oh, so God, I haven't thought about those beers in forever.
Yeah, right. So he gets some of the legit stuff, and some of the breweries make a big effort to do traditional stuff like that.
I
as well.
think he's had representatives come over from the UK with
Yeah.
their casks and talk about their beers. And it's been a little while since I've been to an ACAT because of obvious reasons.
Right.
But I remember talking to some guys, maybe it's Old Speckled Hen, who's talking about his cask, and and I've liked Old Speckled Hen for a long time, but aside from that, I'd never had it on cask. I just thought it was a good beer.
We ran into one time at a beer festival as a younger dude. Actually, I think he was from the UK, and he was 3 sheets, Andrew, when we ran into him, and he's like leaning against a brick wall at a beer fest.
Yeah.
He starts talking to us. We can see, he's got an accent. He's like, yeah, I've only been here 2 weeks, checking out American beer. I'm like, what do you think of it? He's like, it sucks. He's like, it's too gassy. I get it too cold and too gassy. I'm like, yeah, that's American beer for you, man.
I will tell you that cask stuff goes down so easy compared to our beers. It really does. Yeah.
It's all sessionable, Brian.
That's
Very
right. Super
crushable
sessionable. Very sessionable.
But I'm curious to see how much more that develops. Like I said, I've been seeing a lot more of it here. And more and more
Good
places are starting to focus on it. Good Word
has started doing casks as well.
Yeah.
They usually have 2, but every time I've been there, one of them's been sold out.
Yeah.
But they have 2. So
I know a couple breweries that have a beer engine, and they just kind of pull off a regular keg. It's not so. But yeah, man, it'll be interesting to see how that develops and what we get out of it.
I like it, and I hope it continues. I hope it grows, Tim.
I hope so for you as well, Brian, to get more Caskel in there. It'll be good, man. I'm always open to new things. Everything old is new again.
I think
as
that
they say.
A lot of things. It's just interesting to try something that really well in that way. This is better. I love it.
Just hits different.
Yes, Tim, that's what the kids say these days.
Different. Well, you know what, y'all? We need to take another break. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We will be right back with more from Good Measure Pub and Brewery. Andrew, it's important that I tell you this, and I'm sure it's something you've been wondering, but yes, I did get a new car this week.
What did you get? Telling every single person he can talk to.
I got a it's new to me, a 2018 Ford Explorer.
Nice.
And it's fully loaded. So this wasn't by choice. 1 month ago, a guy in a Dodge Charger doing about 100 miles an hour,
120 at least,
slammed into my 2013 Ford Explorer.
Were you in it?
I was on I-75 going about 65 miles an hour. So
oh man,
he hit me and I spun sideways and I hit the car to the left of me and that ping-ponged me into the car to the right of me. So there were 5 of us total in the mess up there.
Tim was all over it, just ricocheting off of all the walls. Yeah,
I didn't die, contrary to popular rumor. I wasn't that injured, and actually that's one reason I got another Explorer. I was super impressed with the way my vehicle handled this accident.
See, you're going to be the guy that speaks on Ford's website about that.
Yeah. I'll give him
if you're listening, Ford.
Ford, I will talk good
because
I'm
not sponsored yet.
Yeah, I like my 2018, but me and Brian won't argue with 2023s.
Company car?
Yeah. My 2000.
You got an Explorer as well.
Yeah, Explorer Sport. It could use an upgrade.
Andrew, my car has heated massage front seats in it.
Wow, that massage?
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it when I bought it. I was messing around in settings and it's like massage. I'm like, no.
It actually will it'll actually put some sleeping mask on for you while it massages you. Yeah, so it's very ideal and safe.
It gives you a little glass of water with a lime wedge in it.
Yeah, a little chamomile tea, a little sleepy time for you to sip on while you're driving.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah,
man.
It's great. It's a good idea.
That's crazy.
No, but I like my Explorer. I like my new one. I am stoked about it. And the little bells and whistles on it, they're nice. So you got to get out there and roll.
It looks neat. It's a new car.
I will say this, my car has, they call it lane keep assistance. I think that you turn it on. And if you're driving on the interstate, there's a front facing camera that reads the lines.
Yeah.
And if you go, I got to say the first time that triggers, cause I tested it, it's unsettling for your car to start steering. For you. Yeah. So I don't know about that.
I experienced this before. Tim had his new shiny new car, and I had a rental, and I was driving somewhere because I always get a rental if I'm driving anywhere because I have old cars.
Yeah.
And I noticed this thing would make noises, and it would
It vibrates, right?
Yeah, it vibrates. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is this because I've got old cars? I'm like, is the power steering fluid leaking in this one? Because that's what it did in my old car when this happened. And so I'm unsettled driving on a highway. I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? I have plans. I've got a place to be. And also this is happening. I finally figured out, I don't know how actually.
The lane assist.
Yeah, I went through the menu
system.
system. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I actually don't know how I figured it out, but I figured it out that I think it's because it coincided with me getting near the lane's edge. And I went to the menu system. I'm like, oh, that's what it must be. I turned it off and I'm like, heaven, man, it is so unsettling.
Yeah, I don't know what I think about that. We'll have to see.
I don't want anything. Oh, what's going on there, Tim?
I'm taking a picture.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Don't you worry about
it. Tim's doing glamour shots over there. I don't want anything touching the steering wheel while I'm driving. I really don't, you know?
Yeah, I could see that would be a little weird.
Yeah, it's call me a control freak, but when I'm driving, I'd like to be the only one driving.
It's just unsettling your vehicle steering itself.
Now, if I tell it to steer and then I decide to take a nap, then that's fine. Go ahead and steer a car. But
I don't trust it. I like when I was letting it creep. Oh, and so I was letting it creep over. I'm like, all right, I feel like I need to get back. So I didn't trust it to do that. And another thing it did, I got off the exit ramp. And you know how you'll get off the exit ramp and then it splits to 3 lanes?
Yeah.
When I flick my turn signal, Andrew, it turns off that lane assistance thing. But I got off the exit and I didn't hit my turn signal and I was trying to get into a different exit lane. It wasn't having it.
The car's, oh, no, you're not
having it.
Oh, wow.
Lane assistance, like, not on my watch.
No. They took my sleepy time tea away from me.
That's right. It actually it punched him in the back. He punched him.
I mean, that's not a bad idea for road trips. Give you a good smack around or something.
I mean, it would wake me up.
Just scream.
I was assaulted by my car, but I didn't fall asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, but I'm safe. Yeah, I just think it's nuts what they can put in vehicles these days. Like my truck is now the most technologically advanced thing I own. It's crazy.
This is in keeping with the what I kind of expected. The carbonation is fairly low on this one.
What for it?
Data plan.
Yeah, like I can buy a data plan and it becomes a Wi-Fi hotspot. So
my car is also a Wi-Fi hotspot.
Yeah. I was sitting in there and it's like now updating to firmware version. I'm like, great, I got to update the OS on my car.
So I've been worried about it for a while. Like what happens when your car crashes, not in the physical sense, but in the software sense. Oh yeah, everything crashed. I'm like, what happens? You know,
my car has 911 assist, and if I'm in an accident, the airbags deploy. It automatically calls the police for me.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
But that's if the software doesn't crash.
Right.
What if the software crashes and then you crash?
Or like you've been using regular unleaded instead of premium and it's pissed off at you. Yeah. So instead of telling the police, it drives you into a ditch because it can do that now.
Yeah, that's right. Don't make the AI angry. You wouldn't like it when it's angry.
Like me when I'm angry.
That's a really dated reference.
You are a car.
What's the next one you guys just opened?
We just got in that hair of the dog, that old Adam there.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's I expected this. The carbonation is minimal to 0.
Yeah, it is.
But it is 15 years old. Yeah, 15 years old.
I've got a good old beer story for you guys. I don't know if you want me to say it now or when we get back on the radio, but
let's save it for the radio.
Okay,
good old beer story.
Beer stories are great. Let's do that
because we can introduce it. We're drinking this because
how about we do that? Let's get back into it. We'll talk about we're drinking this. We're going into 4, huh? All right, Andrew. I know we've kind of been random. This is our last segment. Is there anything that we've missed that you want us to make sure we mention to folks in this last segment?
Whatever you guys whatever you want to hit out.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Probably 6th anniversary.
If we get anniversary, we can mention that.
Yeah, we'll talk old beer at first, and then we'll talk like your beer, your anniversary.
Yeah.
We'll do that. So
cool.
So folks know.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/beerguys. Patrons get cool perks like Beer Guys swag and commercial-free episodes. Now let's get back to Good Measure Pub and Brewery.
Andrew, we have opened an old beer here. So we talked about in the first segment. We have a Hair of the Dog Adam batch 71, which Brian, I think you said was 2007.
2007,
right? Yeah. And it just says it's a hearty old world ale. And we know Alan Sprintz there at Hair of the Dog he did his own thing. He brewed a lot of those bigger old world beers.
I know he did stuff like Adam beers or non-traditional things like he went his own way. If he decided he wanted to go, there were like quasi old ales or that, like I said, the Adam beer. So if he liked it, he made it. And this is way before people were making beers anything like this.
Right. Andrew, I dig vintage beers if they, I've had some like the old, what was the Sam Triple Bock? The Sam Adams one?
Triple Bock.
I had like a 97 bottle that wasn't aged right, and when you touched it, the cork fell in.
I've got it.
Tasted like ashtray and dirt, something like that. Just wasn't good. But I've had some others that, and I always use this phrase because she nailed it. Nancy Palmer, who was our Brewers Guild director at the time and is now with the BA, she said it tastes like an old library in the best way. And I think she just nailed it with that saying, these old vintage beers. But what are your thoughts on vintage ales?
So, I used to drink a lot of old beer. Like I was played the cellar game and opened a lot of older stuff. Recently, the best thing that we had come across was, so we had this regular, this is going to be kind of an elaborate story, but we had this regular Tony Lubald, who unfortunately we lost last year. He was one of the original brewers for Catamount Brewing, which was the precursor to Harpoon in Windsor, Vermont. He was one of the original brewers, and his shtick would be he would come in every Friday, drink 2 pints of ESB, be like, good, I'm done, and then leave. But every random Friday, he would come in with merchandise that he had from his basement from Catamount, like a flag or a poster or whatever. And every once in a while, there'd be beers, and every once in a while, those beers would be full.
Awesome.
And at one point, he brought us a 6-pack of the first 6-pack off the line from Catamount Porter, which was the original American porter, packaged in 1987, and was like, if you guys want to open this, that's fine. I don't want to hold on to anything anymore. And so we kind of kept looking for a time to open it, and we weren't really sure what was going to happen. And then our good buddy Sean Lawson, that owns Lawson's Finest Liquids, stopped by, and we told him that story, and he was like, you want to open one? We're like, all right, sure, let's open one.
Yeah.
It was like a Tuesday, and surprisingly, so 87, we opened it, I think probably 3 years ago. So surprisingly was not terrible. No soy sauce, none of that like weirdness. So I don't know if they were ahead of their time or anything, but it is probably the oldest beer I've ever opened.
Did you have any carbonation in it?
No, absolutely
That's
not.
what I was going to say. Flat, but it was there.
Yeah.
That, I think when people talk about chasing their white whales and that, probably old beers would be more up there than any of the new, new hot stuff. Give me some of the vintage stuff. I'd love to. Yeah. Cantillon Don Quixote. What is it? The 87, like 6,000, 4,000, 6,000 bottle or whatever.
I think when he brought that up and how it was actually, it hadn't gotten off and exceeded expectations. I think about that Dogwood that we opened in studio, and that was 96 or something like that. Was that right? Or was it earlier than that?
84, 94.
I must have been
94. 20 years old. I don't remember when so pseudo similar story, Andrew. We had a brewery here, Dogwood Brewing, that was owned by I can't believe it's Fish. Crawford Moran.
Oh, yeah.
Owned by Crawford Moran. And due to some beer laws and stuff, he ended up taking that one out of business and then opened 5 Seasons Brewing here. But I got a bottle of his from Dogwood an old one, nearly 20 years old, I would say.
Mhm.
But we opened it. I think that may actually be the one that Nancy made that comment about.
I believe it is. Yes,
because we
she was there
opened
for
that in 2017 to celebrate Georgia getting direct sales.
Oh,
And we
cool.
thought this was a good one to celebrate because Dogwood was kind of a victim of some of the old beer laws.
Sure.
Yep.
And you know what? Stellar. I
Held
mean, it
up
was still
really,
stellar. It
really
wasn't
well.
like I've had several kind of like you mentioned, Andrew. You're like, hey, it wasn't bad. It was pretty
Yeah.
good. This one
Yeah.
was just straight good. It was
Yeah,
just a
that's
really
awesome.
nice beer. So, which is always
I've got a
lot of
buddy
fun.
who's a brewer for Brick City Brewing in New Jersey, and he was live posting pictures of a tasting probably last year, and he opened the first beer they opened was like a 1950s bottle of Bass. And I'm like,
See,
how
I'd
did
love
you
to try that, man. I'd love
find
to
that?
try that.
Yeah.
I see these. I love seeing. I love and I get jealous. Like you see these news stories where they find a shipwreck, and it's like we found 36 bottles of ale from 1850. I'm like, man, I really want one of those bottles.
It's also been
really
at
want
near freezing temperature for that.
Right.
It's been cellared.
It's
under
been cellared.
pressure, dark,
No
cold.
oxygen. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I want to try one.
Oh yeah,
so.
yeah.
Hey, if there's any oceanographers or out there or shipwreck treasure hunters,
Fans of the show,
please give us a shout.
That's right.
We will
yeah.
do a special show just for you.
Bring in the beer. We'll bring in other beers to I don't know, compare just whatever.
Yeah,
You know, just
cheese
show
and
up.
crackers, peanut butter.
That's right.
We've got
the
that
finest,
covered.
the finest artisan peanut butter.
Yeah, some pastry peanut butters. We got you. We got you.
So, what do you think of this Hair of the Dog?
I think it's pretty good. I do say I wish it had a little more body to it. It seems like it's thinned a bit.
It's a little light, yes.
The flavor is pretty good. I can tell it's got age on it, and I will say that I've had beers of similar age from Hair of the Dog that I probably would have liked better.
Okay.
But again, Andrew, not bad. Impressive that this is 15ish years old. Excellent experience either way.
I get a lot of fun stuff out of that. I get kind of a port. A mixture of kind of like a little tart raisiny port, maybe sherry-like quality. I like these, and I'm wondering if having had the Abraxas before this with the body and the cinnamon has kind of I don't even know where that bottle went. Has kind of diminished what this how this would come across. I still think this is very good.
I've got sherry and raisin.
Yeah,
molasses maybe.
Perhaps, yeah. It does seem lighter in body than expected, and as noted, there's just no carbonation, but it is 15 years old, and
I don't think it's needed for this. I'm not sure it would do anything.
I'm sure it wouldn't even need it to start. You know what I mean?
And
exactly.
I was gonna say I'm not sure how much that would have had when it went in either. Like it might have had some, but
we need to heat up our caramelizer and hit this one, man. So
do we have enough left? I don't think we do.
I don't know. We need just enough to dip in there. The bottle's empty, so whatever's left in our glasses is what we have. So
well, it definitely won't soften
Fun.
it up any because there's no real carbonation to release off of that.
Well, Andrew, we've been talking about old beers here, but what's new for you? What's coming up?
So we just did our first canning run today with a new partner with our flagship, which is our cream ale we call Riser. It's originally called Early Riser, which is the name of this is the weird part. It's the name of an heirloom Abenaki corn that only grows in Vermont. So the dedication of the cream ale. Right. So yeah. But we just did our first big run today of that. We're brewing a barley wine tomorrow for anniversary, which should be around January, December. It kind of changes depending on what the holiday schedule looks like.
And this year's 6th anniversary, is that right?
It'll be our 6-year anniversary. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool.
And we did establish that was an English barley wine, I believe.
It is an English barley wine. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Anything funny with it, or is it just a straight up barley wine?
We do straight up. But for that release, we'll be releasing. So we can it too, which is kind of a fun thing. So we'll be releasing cans from last year, and then we'll be bottling a version from last year that's been sitting since last year in a maple syrup bourbon barrel.
Oh yes. All right.
So yeah. And then other than that, we've got we're doing a kind of a dark beer breakfast thing probably in January at some point. And then just trying to preach the gospel of low ABV drinkable, sessionable beers.
Crushable, drinkable, sessionable,
Yeah.
Table beers.
Table
beer.
You know, you mentioned the breakfast dark beers and that and preaching the gospel. So we have a brewery here, Reformation Brewery, which was founded by preachers, actually. And I don't know if they did it last year, I think with all the COVID and stuff and that, but a Black Friday pancake breakfast at like 4 or 5 a.m.
Yeah,
they
that's
open up
crazy.
and serve stouts and pancakes or something like that.
If I were anywhere near one of them, I would definitely
be all over that, right?
At a certain point in my life, I would have still been up. I'm like, well, might as well go
That's
have
what
breakfast.
I was going to say. Go from coffee to stouts back to coffee.
Right.
Just
skip the night altogether.
Yeah,
So.
good stuff. Awesome. Andrew, thank you so much for taking time. And for those that don't know, we had a little flip and a flop last week. So Andrew was nice enough to schedule with us last minute and make time for us. So
Thanks for having me, guys.
Appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
So if folks want to find out where your brewery is or what's happening there, what's the best way for them to do that?
Goodmeasurebrewing.com. We've got an Instagram. We've got a Facebook. We update at least every day. Yeah, that's kind of probably the best way to do us. Yeah.
Easy peasy, man. That works out.
Yeah.
Awesome, Andrew. Thanks again.
Thanks, guys.
You bet. That about wraps it up, Brian, for this episode of the Beer Guys Radio Show. Make sure to join us next week for more craft beer fun. Also, we're on the socials too, Brian.
We are
Beer Guys Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Give us a like, give us a follow, share some pictures. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you all have a great week, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers. Clear.
And
Andrew,
the radio
hang tight just a second.
is completed. Yes.
Everybody joining us on streaming, we thank you so much for checking us out. We'll be back next week, Wednesday.
Yeah, or Sunday, perhaps
not
Sunday.
I'm not doing this on Sunday. Wednesday, 7 p.m.
We need a day of rest.
Next week, I don't think we'll be here because I think we got a beer fest
the
preceding Saturday. We'll have to check our calendar.
Yeah, look things over.
Yeah, but we'll get it together. But y'all, hope you have all a great week. Have I been drinking some stronger beers?
You have been, Sam.
But anyhow, I hope you have a good one either way, and we'll see you next week. Cheers, y'all.